Until we all really become aware of the power of design and how it can improve our living, we will not become demanding towards what design does for us. You don't need to draw well to be creative or to be a designer. You just need to be able to think differently. Design is not a hobby. It's your profession, it's your life. So certain skills that we had used a lot of time in learning are probably of no relevance anymore. But there are going to be newer skills.
Hello friends, today we have with us Ms. Ashwini Deshpande. Ashwini is one of the finest and best designers in this country. In 1989, she co-founded Elephant Design, which is now associated with products like Paperboat, Kurkure, Plasmo and many more. Elephant Design has now been also awarded or considered to be India's best company, product design company by Economic Times Group. So Ashwini, thanks for sparing time. Welcome to the discussion.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So Ashwini, when we were talking some time back, you said that every youngster should be aware about basic concept of design as it will help them in their day-to-day life. So would you like to elaborate why I should know basic concepts of design?
Yeah, I think this is my most favorite part of answering anything at all. The thing is, all of us, right from the moment we wake up in the morning till the time we go to sleep, and even while we are sleeping, we are using various things, various objects, various services, various apps. All of this is actually consciously designed by somebody, but we don't realize it, and we don't therefore realize the power of or the integration of design within our lives. And many a times when things go wrong, that is really when we start realizing that something has not fallen in place, and what could that be? And many a times it is design. So for example, currently the situation that's all around us, and we are wondering why is it that we were not prepared? And here is what I would like to say as a definition of design. Design is an activity which is a planned, methodical action to solve a challenge. And if you look at design in that sense, then you would know that design is all around us. You know, the headphones that I'm using, to the monitor you are seeing me on, to the device that you have in your hands, to probably the fan that's moving on your head. All of this is designed, and all of this actually solves a particular challenge. Now, some of these are good designs, some not so good designs. Until we all really become aware of the power of design and how it can improve our living, we will not become demanding towards what design does for us. And unless we do that, we will not be surrounded by good design. So, which is why I believe everybody needs to be aware of what is good design and demand that they get good design in their life.
But we are all not very creative, right? Very few people are gifted in a sense. So how we can do actually design? And if you are really looking at design, then it's sometimes considered actually orthogonal to a methodical thought process, which we technologists are trained to do. You know, we first analyze, then we go step by step. Design is something very abstract. So these two things are completely different in a sense in terms of thought process. And some people talk about left brain and right brain and so on and so forth. So do you really think that technologists can actually get hold of design, or they can actually understand design in the right way and right spirit?
Absolutely. I think I'd like to go back a few years in everybody's lives. So when we were children, all of us were very, very creative because we were very curious. And we wanted to understand the world with an absolutely new, fresh mind, because we had no preconceived ideas, we had no biases. And at that time, when we used to draw something, or when we used to play, or when we used to create scenarios with our friends and live within those scenarios, I think all of us were equally creative. Now, what happens is that over the years, as the kind of education that you go through, the kind of filters that are put around through education, through families, through expectations, we start channelizing our mind and energies into certain kind of thoughts or certain ways of doing things. But intrinsically, all of us are born creative. We just need to reach out that part of ourselves to take out something which is called creative by the conventional sense. And I'd like to recommend a book called Creative Confidence by Tim Brown, where he actually tells each one of us on how to bring out that creativity that is dormant within us. We've sort of forgotten how to be creative, how to be curious, how to solve challenges in an interesting way. And if you just go through that method, uh, I think all of us can bring out that creativity. You don't need to draw well to be creative or to be a designer. You just need to be able to think differently. And I'd also like to say here that I think each one of us does face challenges and solves in his or her own way. And if you say right brain or left brain about design and technology, I would say design actually is on the cusp of both. Because you have to be able to understand a challenge or a problem, you have to be extremely analytical and focused on your method. But the moment you have identified the true challenge and you have identified the feasibility and possibilities, then you have to unleash your creative self to be able to solve it differently, to be able to do something that has not been done before, that has been an unmet need, and you're able to solve that. So it's kind of a combination of left and right. It's not only creative, it's not only analytical. You have to be able to do both.
Ashwini, you started elephant design about 31 years back, 31 years back.
Yes, yes,
Maybe 89, which was a pre-liberalization kind of an era in India.
absolutely.
Hardly anyone at that time spoke about designs and the kind of products which we see,
True.
which are designed in India in 1980, 1990. They look very primitive in a sense. So when you started this design firm, did you really expect people to pay for something like design?
You know, when you are really young and impressionable, and you want to start something which has never been done before, the whole excitement of carving your own path itself is a reward. And I often get asked this question that, how did you survive? How did you make money? How did you sort of move on and grow and so on? And I think when you're getting to do something extremely exciting, something that you like, something that you believe is changing the lives of people in a positive way, that reward itself is enough to cover a whole lot of lacunae in terms of your pay package. But having said that, I often get asked this question by mostly aspirants of design or parents of children who want to go towards design. And the question is there scope in design?
Yeah,
And
means how much
this
money Ashwini makes.
exactly,
That's what.
exactly. That SCOPE is actually MONEY. Is there money really? And I would then turn around and ask that, there is no scope in any profession. No, there is no scope in design. There is no scope in engineering. There's no scope in anything in that sense. There's no money in anything. The scope is within yourself. So there are as many successful engineers as there are who are not so successful in the conventional sense. There are as many extremely wealthy doctors as there are who've chosen a different path and yet they are successful in their own way. So it is about the kind of grit you have inside you, the kind of passion you have inside you, and the kind of excitement you have in solving what you have got in your hand. And money comes. I don't think. I mean, that's a byproduct. If you focus on what you're doing and you're doing it well, with all the passion inside your heart, I think all these other things just sort of follow. So I would urge anybody who is looking at design to not worry about whether there is money or not. Absolutely, there's money in every profession if you have it in you.
So means Ashwini Deshpande is declaring that she's rich. Okay, good.
There is a definition of rich for each person, and you
Yeah.
define your own definition.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding, Ashwini.
Yeah, sure.
I can take that.
But I know
as a
that
friend.
there are millionaire designers. So sure.
Yeah. So Ashwini, coming back to a serious question, you started your company about 30 years back, and at that time there was no buzz about startup. Okay, currently there is huge buzz about startup, and a lot of women are getting into startup ecosystem.
Sure.
But 30 years back, the set of challenges were completely different. And at that time, as a woman, whether you felt that you should get into entrepreneurship and whether this will help you achieve something really concrete and respectable position, so that you will able to create the impact which you really wanted to create.
So I'd like to go back to my childhood and the way I was brought up along with my sister who was older to me. And both of us, I think, though we grew up in a really small town called Aurangabad in the 60s and 70s, I think both of us were never made to feel that we were any more or less or different because we were girls. We were brought up absolutely like any other child, with a lot of love would be brought up. And I don't think we ever heard a conversation where anybody told us at home that you cannot do this because you are a certain gender. So this talk was not there in our house. So I frankly never realized that there is actually a challenge for women to go out there and do what they want to do. I mean, in the 70s, my sister had established the first women's cricket team in Aurangabad. Now, that's
Okay.
not something you can do easily even today. And that was with full support from my parents. So I think I was very fortunate that I had that kind of background. And if there are any parents listening, I think it's onus is on them that you bring up your girls and your boys with equal fervor and equal opportunity. And so when I actually went out there in my studies or in my professional world, this bias was not there in my mind. So I had no fear. I had no fear that because I'm a girl or because I'm a woman, I'll be treated differently. So I started with absolute optimism, and
But whether you were treated differently?
now here is where the thing comes. So I started with complete optimism and complete, no bias at all. But obviously, world was not brought up the way I was brought up. So yes, I have faced situations where if I've gone with a male colleague who was actually a junior colleague of mine, the client would sort of shift the entire focus because he's a male colleague and believe that he's a decision maker and sort of address that person in the meeting. And, few small incidents like that have happened. Or if I'm at a site late at night trying to get some construction done, there was a bit of a challenge in getting it done because I was a woman and I probably wouldn't use the expletives that men can use in the middle of the night to get some work done. But I think these are far and few. And I would say that maybe I have the rose tinted glasses on me, but I have seen the world extremely positive towards somebody who's set out to do something important. You have to believe that the job you're doing is important, and only then the world will believe that it's important as well. So I have to keep telling younger designers, especially girls, that it's not a hobby we are into. Design is not a hobby. It's your profession. It's your life. So unless you believe it is that important, the world is not going to believe so.
You must have faced a lot of challenges over the last 30 years. There must be some successes, but there must be a lot of failures also. So, would you like to actually share some of those experiences with
Sure,
the youngsters?
sure,
Because at the end of the day, successes certainly excite, but
sure,
failures actually teach a lot
sure.
and ensure that you actually move forward in the right direction.
Sure. So I'd like to give two examples of failures, and maybe I'll add a third one, which is specific to women, but I'll add that in the end.
So, you
Uh,
add success as well as failures. So, that will be
I think success is something that everybody talks about very proudly, and it's all over the social media and internet, and it's all over there. So success of elephant can be read anywhere else, but I think failures is something that one rarely wants to talk about or ask about. So I'm glad that you're asking that, and I'm going to revisit two of those times. So the first time was again several years ago, probably 20 years ago or more, which is when there was a new technology of printing large scale color prints. Okay, and that was like just coming in. Now, of course, we are surrounded by large digital color prints, but that technology was just coming in. And we always wanted to be ahead of the curve in terms of technology and always wanted to use what is new. So we found out that that kind of print is only happening in other cities, but in Pune, there's no such thing. And we thought since we use a lot of that print in any of our installations, exhibitions, showrooms, and so on, maybe we should put up, a machine. And not only will we print for ourselves, but we'll put up a service of printing. So we spent, for that time, it was a huge amount of money. I think we had taken a loan and we had put up this machine in our premises. And we thought that, the word just has to go around and we will get like a whole lot of business people will queue up to get their prints done. Strangely enough, it did. But what failed was the technology. We had gone too ahead of the curve. The technology was not stabilized yet. and the prints, as soon as they would get exposed to UV light, would fade overnight.
Okay.
And we had already sunk in a lot of money, so there was no way to sort of upgrade to the next technology. We were already worried that maybe even the next technology is not ready yet. Maybe those inks are not stable yet either. So we had this giant machine on our head, some consumables on our head, a loan on our head. And we realized that sometimes, unless you really, really analyze and test and prototype and test again, you shouldn't be jumping into decisions. So that's really the big lesson we learned. So did we stay ahead of the curve? Yes, even today we try and buy what is ahead of the curve. But unless we have actually really checked everything and analyzed and whether it works for us and whether it's feasible and so on, we just don't sort of jump into something as because it's the next best technology. So that was one. It was a big learning for us, and every time we invest in something, that learning sort of comes back. The second one was, well, this was another interesting one. And, as failures come and go, I say that there are some good failures and some bad failures. So sometimes you learn, good failures are where you learn from. Bad failures are when you keep making the same mistake again and again and again. I think those should not be talked about. But second failure, which is, and like I said, I would add that angle of especially working with a lot of women. So Elephant has always been an equal opportunities company. We have strangely an equal good gender balance. We always have equal number of men and women as we go along. And I try and lead by example, saying how it's not a hobby, how we have to be extremely serious about our profession. But at the same time, I see a lot of young women having to let go of their career because of the other choices that they make. And that I feel is still my failure. I take it as my personal failure when somebody leaves her extremely thriving profession to go and relocate or to let go of the great career because of various other pressures. And I think that's something that I haven't yet managed to solve. And I think there are many women like me who are always trying to figure how do we get more women to stay within the profession. So the good part today, as we are sitting at home and working, all of us, is that something has just got proved that many women who find it very challenging to go outside their house and work have extremely successfully managed their job from home. So I think this situation, the silver lining I see in this situation is that probably that failure is not going to last anymore, and we are going to see a flip side of it, which is positive. So again, a good failure. We'll learn something from it.
Ashwini, as you rightly said, we are all working from home, and even large number of companies have now working. Their 70-80% staff is now working from home.
Right.
You must be talking to a lot of clients,
Sure.
okay, currently. Uh, Based on your interaction with your clients, and you have really big clients, right? Like from Hindustan Levers to many more ITC and so on, so many clients. So what kind of impression you get from them about the post-COVID world and how the business will evolve in this post-COVID world?
So strangely, nobody really knows the future. Though everybody believes that they have done their plan B and they have planned for all the contingencies, and everything has been neatly laid out and so on. I mean, I know of companies who have created almost 30% excess space in case they get a project and they need to sort of overnight hire a team and start next day. I know of companies who have a huge bench strength. And that contingency plan somehow just doesn't work in such times. And I heard somebody saying something very interesting, which is again a client who said that in the probability theory, one always prepares for the most probable scenario, and people who are smarter they prepare for the next best or next probable scenario. Now, this scenario that we are sitting in has never been probable. We have never prepared for it. And yet we are all facing it. And yet we are all sort of going on. I mean, I think it's the 75th day or something, right? So I see most of our clients in sectors like pharma or FMCG. I think they have now held up pretty well because they have managed to overcome the challenges of logistics, of starting factories back and, getting raw material back and so on. But clients who are in sectors like automobile or machine tools or any other B2B sector which is not considered essential, like even appliances and tools and so on, I think they are really, or edutech, education. And so education, interestingly, is turning to edutech now, because that's the way they are solving their challenge. But I think many of these companies which have complete sort of lockdown and zero billing over last 2 months, they are going to take at least 15 to 18 months to even see some sense of normalcy. The other sectors, I think, will come back probably within 6 to 8 months. That's the feeling I hear from all the clients.
You rightly said, Ashwini. Even when I'm also attending large number of webinars, I talk a lot also, address large number of students.
Sure.
And I always tell them that your skill set pre-COVID and your skill set post-COVID has to be now substantially different. You need to ensure that you upgrade your skill set and you use your time very efficiently to
Sure.
upgrade your skill set.
Sure.
Considering design and large number of technology students or non-technology students which we have more than 3.5 crore students in higher education sector.
Sure.
And equally large number of professionals, young professionals who are just out of college,
Right.
doing their job or have 2 or 3 years of experience. So what is your suggestion or advice to them that what they should do so that they remain relevant in this world, and from a design perspective also, how they can blend their technology with design or something which will give them an added advantage or an edge against others.
Sure. So I think first of all, stop seeing fake news. This university of WhatsApp is not really doing well for us. It's a complete waste of time, and it sort of just pollutes the mind that could have got something fresh and something interesting and something positive. So the first thing is to junk that. The immediate second thing is to learn to communicate better. Because if we are going to be in this world of working from remote or working with masks on our faces, sitting next to each other, then we have to really, the skill that we really need to learn, and there is no way you can do without it, is communicate well. Now, whether it is through words, through expressions, through writing better, through making movies, through drawing, sketching, writing your program, doing your technical drawings, whatever it is. But you have to be able to communicate far better now. So focus on communication to whatever degree you can. Because there is, in the earlier times, if your work could speak for itself. But in the current times, that's not true. Your work is not enough to speak for yourself. So speak in every possible way. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that there are going to be challenging times if you're seeking jobs or internships in the coming years. So then, how would you use your time well? So, like in design sense, what we say is that you have to keep your pencil sharpened all the time, because you never know when you have to actually use it. So, whatever be your tool, I think mind is our best tool, of course. So, we have to keep our mind sharp. And we have to try and visualize, or like you said, you attend webinars, and I think all of us have been doing that. We have to visualize what is it going to be a year from now or 2 years from now. What kind of new challenges world is likely to be facing, and therefore what kind of new solutions we are likely to need. So certain skills that we had used a lot of time in learning are probably of no relevance anymore. But there are going to be newer skills, and whatever be your specialization, your liking, your interest, see what it is going to be like in 2 years' time or even a year's time. And at that time, what is that pencil that you're going to need? Try and sharpen that. Try and understand and try and sharpen it. A lot of courses online are free right now or at a minimal cost. Use the time well, do those courses. It is always going to be useful for that. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
I think let's close down on this positive note, Ashwini. Thanks for sparing time. Sincerely appreciate. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure was mine too. Thank you. Good day.